Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Brushfire Mime because it's Sunday evening at 2000. That's 8 o'clock for those of you with half a time. And wow, oh wow, we got to talk about the IG report tonight. If I get tired of talking about the IG report or run out of stuff to cover with it, I will be talking about the immigrant children situation a little bit because I'm getting tired of hearing lefties complain about that. But the big news right now is the IG report, and it really is a big deal. So buckle up. All right. So, the IG report. We got Horowitz's report now. And there's some major stuff in there, but the first thing I want to address are the immediate reactions to the report. We'll talk about Chris Wray in just a minute. The thing that is really just sticking in my craw, though, I keep seeing headlines and hearing reports about the report which say that Comey and other FBI employees. Okay, here's the thing. Comey, we already know Comey's dirty. We've known that. This report proves that even further. But this whole thing and some other employees, well, they're trying to hide. When you say it like that, it's kind of like a few weeks ago when the wedding cake decision was made. And so many headlines read, narrow decision. That's lying without lying. They're lying, but they're not lying. So with the narrow decision thing, and I had some people complain about me digging into that. I should have been more clear on that. A narrow decision in legal terms is when the court makes a very specific ruling on a case, and that ruling is so particular to the peculiarities of that individual case that it does not create precedent. That is jargon. That is professional jargon of the legal system, which was then used by reporters to try and bend the narrative, to pretend like what happened is that it was a divided court, and it was they narrowly passed through in like a 5-4 when of course we know that it was 7-2. The only holdouts or by 2 votes. Yes, a narrow decision when you talk about the Supreme Court. Exactly. Rod points out narrow is winning by 1 vote. That's what the average person thinks about it, and that is precisely what these journalists, what these yellow journalist shitbags were trying to sneak down your nose. So this is not exactly Russell conjugation, but it's pretty damn close. We've talked about Russell conjugation before. Just a quick review. Russell conjugation is when they use Russell conjugation is when you use certain words to report fact, but to manipulate emotion in so doing. And the example that's typically used, and was the example that Russell used himself when he was explaining his idea, is I am firm, he is stubborn, they are pig-headed, right? Firm sound in that context, the word firm sounds like I know my business, I'm committed to my decision, and it is good that I am standing strong on my principles and decisions and whatnot. Say he is stubborn, then he is committed to his position, but we feel a certain kind of way about that, and the kind of way that we feel about that isn't so positive. They are pig-headed. It suggests that they are committed to their decision, committed to their position, and refuse to change their position, and that is a bad thing. Now, all three statements mean the same thing. The person is committed to their position, but they have drastically different emotional meanings, and they're received very differently. So, when the press says Comey and some FBI agents, some FBI employees, they don't even say agents, they say employees. They're using the word employees to try and downplay it. Like, so Comey and the janitor, Comey and some dude in the human resources department, Comey and blah, 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 this person's not an agent. Okay, not only is Peter Strzok an FBI agent, not only is he no mere FBI employee, this man was the head, the chief of counterintelligence. This is a piece of the conversation that is not getting enough attention and needs to be deeply examined. Because let's not forget. So the IG report is about the Hillary Clinton email scandal and investigation. It is not about the Russia investigation. But here's something very, very important about the position of Peter Strzok, who is now exposed with absolutely no doubt. There is no arguing that Peter Strzok is a hard left partisan operative. The only question that remains as to the hard left partisan operative leanings of Peter Strzok is whether or not he was actually bribed by Democrats to do the things he did. I am not saying that that is the case. What I'm saying is that only in that case could he be a more treacherous, dangerous, and criminal operator than he has already proved to be. But more importantly than that, let's take a look at this. His position. Strzok was the chief of counterintelligence for the FBI. The Russia investigation was moved forward based on the claim that it was a counterintelligence investigation for the sake of national security, because one does not open a criminal investigation without evidence of crime to investigate. That's a very, very important distinction. At no point before the investigation was opened was there evidence even suggesting Trump-Russia collusion. That's something that had to be drummed up out of thin air. The investigation itself was never opened as a criminal investigation. Let me refer you back. Let's talk about corruption in the DNC historically real quick, and we'll slide back to Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, just to kind of illustrate what happens, how criminal justice works. We're going to be talking about how the law works, how criminals are treated, and what should be happening right now in just a second. With the Trayvon Martin case, when the police arrived on the scene, they found a man who had been brutally beaten by an inebriated young adult and had fired his weapon in self-defense, killing his assailant. The scene that they arrived to, and race, and I want to point out that Zimmerman is Hispanic. All right, so they found a black man shot by a brown man, and the brown man had the crap beat out of him. Now, of course, we saw the reports later that, oh, Zimmerman is a white Hispanic, and I never heard the phrase white Hispanic before in my life, until it was suddenly super useful for the Eric Holder DOJ to make a clear-cut case of self-defense somehow about racism, because the police on the scene did not arrest Zimmerman. It was a clear-cut case of self-defense. After that, there was pressure put on the Florida Attorney General to prosecute. And as an Attorney General should, as any prosecutor should, the prosecutor refused to bring charges because there was not evidence sufficient to have the reasonable expectation of securing a conviction. Okay, that's not even, there's no evidence that there was a crime. There's not enough evidence for a crime to be proved. Right? So in the case of the Trump-Russia collusion investigation, there was never any evidence. It is still not a criminal investigation. All this stuff about indictments and whatnot, the special counsel shouldn't even be able to issue indictments because it is not a criminal investigative counsel. It is a counterintelligence counsel. It is a counterintelligence investigation for the sake of national security, precisely because they never had they were never able to check the correct boxes to open a criminal investigation against Donald Trump. They never had any evidence. 2 years later, there's still no evidence. So this throws us some more information on the timeline. Now, going all the way back, let's not forget, when Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, we had the Uranium One scandal took place. During that time, James Comey was not yet the head of the FBI. He was not yet Daddy Durfee, the director of the FBI. At that time, it was Mueller. But Comey was right in line. He was almost there. Now we know that Comey and his wife and his daughters are huge Hillary supporters. I mean, maximum donation making Hillary supporters. The whole family, right? That's not even a question in dispute. He tries to play out this whole nonpartisan thing. Well, let's be very clear. Comey is an absolute partisan. They said he was a registered Republican, but really? How many registered Republicans do you know making maximum contributions to the Clinton campaigns? Okay, so we fast forward a bit, and now we see that the fingerprints that are on this Russia investigation nonsense have been involved with the Clinton crime family since at least the early 2000s. Okay, these are guys that were in the positions where somehow, magically, the ball was dropped on investigating the sale of I forget the numbers now. The sale of a gigantic portion, like a quarter of U.S. uranium to Russia. Now, let's not forget, these are the same people that are screaming Russia, Russia, Russia now. Less than 20 years ago, these same people were selling our nuclear material to Russia. And they were doing it illegally. And the conduct of that crime was somehow not investigated by the same people who are now conducting the highly partisan, highly suspicious investigation of Donald Trump colluding with Russia to steal an election, in an election year where we also know that Hillary Clinton took gigantic donations from other foreign powers. The kinds of donations that are big enough to buy a director of the FBI with Iranian money, or a former director of the FBI with, say, Saudi Arabian money, or, I don't know, also the deputy director of the FBI, and who knows, maybe another couple of $1 million could be peeled off to purchase the chief of counterintelligence who is in the best possible position to create an illicit and unjustifiable investigation based on the claim of counterintelligence investigations into national security concerns, given that the evidence required to begin a criminal investigation is absolutely in dearth, does not exist. So yeah, the first thing that is really chapping my ass is that the media is willfully, aggressively, and intentionally lying to try and downplay the importance of Peter Strzok, whatever. So when you see the headlines that say Comey and some FBI employees, that is not Comey and some FBI employees. That is Comey and the chief of counterintelligence, who is an agent, and his mistress. Let me say that one more time. The chief of counterintelligence and his mistress. Now let's go over real quick why these two people matter in particular. Strzok is the person who is most probably in the right position to begin the investigation, to justify the investigation, to create the illicit paper trail which generates the investigation. And we have this huge stack of emails between the two of them. Well, the emails, as they go back and forth, are, I mean, there's no doubt. They say very plainly in their own words that they hate Donald Trump, that they're afraid of his becoming president, that they're terrified of the possibility of his becoming president, that the possibility, as time goes by, that the possibility of him winning the primary and then the election becoming more and more real to them, they become clearly more and more enraged and terrified at the prospect of his becoming president, and they start saying things like, "We have an insurance policy, don't worry." Well, when that stack of emails was delivered to Congress, there were some, or text messages was delivered to Congress. There were some text messages that weren't even redacted. They were just straight omitted from the text chain, and they say, "We will stop him." Peter Strzok, the chief of the counterintelligence of the FBI, said, "We will stop him," to his mistress, who is some kind of FBI lawyer. I admit I have not given as much study to Miss Page as I have to Mr. Strzok, but they're both pretty important mucky mucks. He's obviously a lot higher up the chain than she is. We're talking about like a G15 position here. So that's all a huge, huge deal. Now, let's talk about Wray, the current director of the FBI, Chris Wray. He gave a press conference about the IG report, and it really aggravated me. I had high hopes for Wray. I really did. I thought he was going to be a good guy. And what we should have heard out of Chris Wray was, my predecessor has failed you, the American people. He has left the FBI in a shambles while attempting to conduct it as his own personal political control mechanism. And I will correct that. That is the sort of statement we should have gotten. Instead, we got, okay, some mistakes were made. Some things were done improperly. Not some people did bad things. No. He used language like, we need to learn from our mistakes, and these are teachable moments. No, these are not mistakes. Okay, Hanlon's razor says, never attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity. Lowry's razor demands that if one cannot reasonably be expected to be stupid, then negative outcomes must be the result of malice. I said this about Barack Obama over and over and over again. And the fact that I said it over and over and over again, and I don't mean just continuously repeating myself, I mean in analysis of multiple distinct, discrete, individual activities and outcomes. It can't be both, baby. I'll get to that in a minute. It can't be both. Here's the thing. Obamacare was a massive failure. His foreign policy was a massive failure. His border policy was a massive failure. His economic policy was a massive failure. But his policies were not just failures. They failed repeatedly in predictable ways. And the predictable ways that they failed were ways in which it had been predicted and explained by many, many, many smart people. Now, in fairness, they were smart people on the right. Also, in fairness, that's because that's where smart people apparently have started going. Now, it used to be that there were smart people on the left and right. But as the left has drifted further and further into communism, socialism, identity politics, and this absurd idea of the victim hierarchy and the privilege stacking, the smart people are leaving the left, and you're seeing this all over the place with guys like Sargon of Akkad, Jordan Peterson, guys like that, who are traditional liberals. They're a little more liberal than I am. And when I say a little more liberal than I am, I mean Sargon of Akkad is basically a Republican who believes in socialized medicine. Jordan Peterson is basically a Republican who believes in socialized medicine. They are not to be confused with Democrats who also believe in free speech or gun rights, unlike the rest of Democrats. Right? So, as the smarter people have drifted further and further to the right, that's where the predictions are happening. And the predictions are effective and correct. You know, you look at Scott Adams and his prediction of the rise of Donald Trump. He was almost as accurate and timely as I was on that. And, I mean, he wrote Dilbert. Brilliant guy. Definitely check out some of his videos. He does these Periscope videos that are wonderful. But with Obama, we pointed out that if you go this route on healthcare, prices will rise, doctors will flee the marketplace, hospitals will stop accepting insurance policies, service will be restricted, there will be fewer options available to people, and you'll start having people drop off of even the subsidized insurance rolls because they can't afford it, and that's exactly what happened. Even before the whole deal with Trump's tax plan repealing the individual mandate and allowing people to start making choices. The repeal of the individual mandate, I know these are rabbit holes, but repeal of the individual mandate took you from you may choose to purchase X, Y, or Z health plan or to pay a fine. The repeal of that went from you may choose to purchase X, Y, or Z health plan or don't. Whatever. And people who can't afford to purchase a health insurance plan are now choosing not to. Now that's unfortunate, but there were a lot of people before who were choosing not to buy a health insurance plan because they couldn't afford it, because Obama priced them out of the market. But now, those people who can't afford a health insurance plan aren't coming out of pocket $2, $3, $4,000 in penalties when the time comes. Now that number assumes a married couple, several children. It's about $700, a little more than $700 now. Would be the actual fee per person, less for the children. Anyway, the math. You either buy health insurance or you just give us thousands of dollars and, you don't have any insurance, but we still have your money and thank you for voting Democrat. So he did that. The Iran deal. Big fail, big fail, big fail. So here's the thing. If wise counsel counsels you against specific activities and you continuously engage in those activities against the wise counsel, then the conclusion cannot be that you're unintelligent. Unintelligent would have been making one mistake and not learning from it. But when you consistently make the same mistake, in this case listening to the wrong people, then the only reasonable conclusion is that the bad outcome is your desired outcome. If the bad outcome is your desired outcome, then you are a malicious actor. If what you wanted to do was destroy the American healthcare system, you're a malicious actor. If what you wanted to do was to give several $billion of U.S. taxpayer money to Iran in order to subsidize the expansion of their nuclear weapons program in the same way that you did for the North Korean nuclear weapons program, you're a malicious bad actor. If 3 presidents before you, who were also clearly malicious bad actors in this, have continued to subsidize the expansion of a nuclear weapons program in North Korea because they're too dumb to stop writing a welfare check to a bum, then you are malicious bad actors. This is math. Math is not hard. Math and the ability to do simple math is the difference between pulling the lever for a conservative and pulling the lever for a Democrat. It's the difference between pulling the lever for liberty, where the numbers are in your favor, or the difference between pulling the number for tyranny, where the numbers are in favor of guns taking your money and restricting your privileges and liberties. So, back to Ray. So Ray gave his speech where, he didn't accept responsibility for any individual thing. Just said, we're going to assign accountability. We're going to accept accountability. We'll have some training groups and oh goody. So the FBI is now accepting the Starbucks model where if somebody comes in and cries, oh, my reparations, then we're just going to shut down the whole company and do a sensitivity training. Sensitivity training is not the correct answer. The correct answer in this situation is to take everybody who's involved in the whole Russia investigation and the Clinton email investigation and lock them up until somebody starts pointing fingers. Hold them all, arrest every single one of them as a suspect in the crime. Okay, you're a cop. You come into a room. There's a man standing over a dead body with a gun pointed at him. Smoke curling out of the barrel, blood spattered on his jeans in the way that only a gunshot could make it happen. You arrest him. You charge him. And he gets arraigned. At that time, you argue he is a flight risk. The judge denies bail, and he sits in a cell until his trial. That is what should be done with every single fingerprint on the Russia collusion investigation and the Clinton email investigation. And let me be clear, I do mean that Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Peter Strzok, Rob Rosenstein, Mueller, page, the two unnamed FBI agents that were referenced in the report, okay, they should all, every one of them, and their subordinates who were involved in those investigations, should be incarcerated until somebody starts pointing fingers and naming names. Because at this point, there is no reasonable argument to support the claim that what has happened here is not tantamount to an attempted coup against the federal government of the United States of America and its duly elected president. There is not a reasonable argument against that claim. This IG report proves that. Bizarrely, however, the report is written kind of like Comey's exoneration letter for Hillary Clinton, where the report lists all the crimes, names the names of the crime committers, redacts a few names, but leaves them as named subjects. So it's, the person's actual name isn't in the report, but the name is associated to a code name like Agent 1 or Agent 5, which are those are the code names that are used in the IG report, by the way. So there simply is not a reasonable argument to support the claim, against the claim that this was not an attempted coup by a deeply partisan, deep state sort of conspiracy. yes, dear, like a cast list in IMDb. That's exactly right. So let's see. I've given you the general handling of the report, struck a page, raised statement, the timing of Comey's exoneration of Clinton. Okay, so here are some of the things that we got from the report. As I understand it, there's been some speculation and commentary about the timing of, about the timing of Comey's exoneration letter when he wrote it. Apparently, according to the IG report, though, we now have it confirmed that while Comey delivered his speech where he read the exoneration letter, y'all remember where he got up there and said Hillary Clinton committed this crime, this crime, this crime, this crime, this crime, and this crime, and we have proof. We don't suspect that she committed these crimes. We know beyond the shadow of a doubt that she committed these crimes. And we're not going to charge her for it because we don't think we think she didn't mean to do it and she's real sorry. Well, we now know that he wrote that exoneration several months before, not several months before he delivered it, several months before he even interviewed Hillary Clinton. He made the decision to exonerate Hillary Clinton before he even spoke to her in the course of the investigation. That is huge. That right there, that piece of information alone should be sufficient to haul her ass in and lock her up until the investigation is reconducted. Brand new investigation. All of the original investigators involved in the original investigation should be interrogated as persons of interest in the criminal conspiracy that was the Hillary email debacle. And just like I was saying before, you drag them in, you arraign them, you deny them bail, and you lock their asses up until somebody starts pointing fingers and naming names. This is not a case. This isn't some shit like the Red Scare, Reds under the bed, House Un-American, blah, 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 blah. No. This isn't speculating that there are communists everywhere. This is clear evidence with specific actors, specific named names involved of an active conspiracy to commit a coup in the United States of America. An active attempt to subvert the rule of law and the sanctity of the ballot box and to subvert the duly elected President of the United States. Even if you don't like Donald Trump, and if you don't like Donald Trump, I just don't understand. I don't understand people who don't like Donald Trump. You have friends that are nastier than Donald Trump is. I guarantee it. And not a one of them is about to make peace with North Korea, disarm Iran, shut down illegal immigration, and get you a fucking job. Babe, I'm sorry to ask. Could you bring me some coffee? I'm running. Please. I love you. But I'm getting animated and I'm running low. I'd really appreciate it. Where was I? Okay. So, yeah, this one's hard to do because there are so many individual particulars in the IG report and in the whole timing of everything's going on here that I get distracted by how pissed off it makes me that people we should trust are attempting to murder our democracy. Now, and then here's another thing. So, now I'm going through all the things that we learned from the IG report. Oh, you sexy, sexy woman.
They call me the caffeinator.
Fee the caffeinator. See, my web camera is better than your web camera because I can demand coffee and it comes down the stairs. And it's so sexy. Good Lord, is that a good-looking woman. Rod, you've seen my wife. She is a good-looking woman. Anywho. Yes, timing matters, Julie. Timing matters. So. What did we learn about the timeline of this report? So, yeah, the fact that Comey wrote his exoneration letter previously, prior to the conversation. The fact that Comey wrote his exoneration letter prior to having interrogated Hillary Clinton, and as he interviewed Hillary, he did not interrogate her. She was a suspect in a high crime, in a very serious commission of willful and intentional treason against the United States of America in the course of doing the job of the Secretary of State. And he interviewed her. But he wrote the exoneration letter before he interviewed her. Now, here's something that we learned from the IG report that was speculated about previously. Not only did Comey write that exoneration, but Peter Strzok is one of the people who was involved in editing and preparing the exoneration letter for public consumption. A few things were changed in the exoneration letter. I've got some notes on that too. Where did I put that? So, in the original exoneration letter, Barack Obama was named explicitly because Barack Obama exchanged emails with Hillary Clinton on her illicit, private, unsecure server, which is the problem. So the Secretary of State and the President of the United States of America were exchanging email communications in secret, hiding those communications from us. And those communications, many of them were classified. Now, strictly speaking, they were all classified. Strictly speaking, the President of the United States cannot write an email or any other correspondence. The President of the United States is unable to generate text in record that is not classified at a minimum, for official use only. Let me give you a little. Donald Trump tweets. He has free speech. He can tweet. He can do that. Now, my expectation is that my brothers in the service have taken extraordinary measures to secure that device against infiltration. But here's the thing. Twitter, like Facebook and YouTube, records location information. The content of the president's text might not even be interesting or amusing, let alone important. Oh, but where was he and at what time was he there? And how much distance can he have covered from that position since the last time he sent a text? The President of the United States, whether it's Donald Trump, Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, that's... Remind me to talk about the middle name in a minute. But whether it's Donald Trump, Barry O, or Slick Bill Willie, you might want to put some ice on that, Clinton. He's a rapist, by the way. The president is incapable of generating a document that is not at least for official use only. So every email that was sent between Barack Obama and another person is classified to a degree. All right? There's a reason that you don't send personal emails on your government account. And you don't include government information in your personal emails. And you don't send classified emails on your personal accounts. But every piece of information generated by the President of the United States has the potential to contain national security compromising information. But we know that there was top secret, special access program, secret compartmentalized information in Hillary's email server. One digit of that shit should be enough to have you incarcerated indefinitely. But she's still out there. Another major change that was made, and yes, the original exoneration mentioned the emails between Hillary and Obama. Later, that information was removed from the exoneration and redacted from the investigation documents that were made available to the public. James Comey and his team went out of their way to protect the President of the United States from being exposed for the crimes that he committed while conspiring with Hillary Clinton to leak classified information to our enemies and to compromise the security of the American people and the American institution. All the while actively flaunting, actively subverting their sacred oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Next major change. The law. And we're talking about UCIT 18 here, that specifically deals with the handling of classified information. The level to which it must rise is gross negligence. Comey exonerated Hillary based on the assertion that she did not show or he could not prove intent. I have gone through reams of discussing this and pointing out that Hillary Clinton signed a non-disclosure agreement where she agreed and asserted by her signature under penalty of perjury that she had read the preceding non-disclosure agreement, which explicitly lists UCIT 18, the appropriate executive orders, and so on and so forth. She swore under oath and under penalty of perjury that she was aware that the sharing of classified information with uncleared personnel and the storage of classified information in unsecured media is a crime. And then took extraordinary measures to commit that crime after having signed a document swearing under penalty of perjury that she knew it was a crime and that she would not commit that crime. So, the claim that Comey made that they could not prove intent, guys, intent is always hard to prove. In any criminal case, intent is very, very hard to prove. Right? Even if somebody confesses to the crime and says they did it on purpose in a signed confession after the fact, actually proving that they entered into the commission of the crime with willful malice of forethought is very difficult to do. In this case, what we have is a signed acknowledgement of the understanding of what constitutes willful malice of forethought in the commission of this crime, followed by the commission of the crime. There is not in history a more perfect proof of intent in the commission of a crime. There simply is not. I defy you to provide evidence against my claim. There has not been a case in a court where a more perfect proof of intent, of malice of forethought, and willful commission of a crime existed prior to the commission of that crime. Even if you know that somebody bought a gun and told the shopkeeper they intended to take that weapon and commit a murder, and detailed the reasons that they intended to commit that murder. Even if you have that conversation on videotape, that is a less perfect proof of intent than a document explicitly proclaiming under penalty of perjury you understand the particulars of the crime and what the requirements are. So Comey was dead wrong from the word go to exonerate Hillary based on the idea of a lack of proof of intent, because she could not be more perfectly proved to have had the intent. And now that I've beat that dead horse, let me clarify something. Intent is not a factor in the crime under UCIT 18 of mishandling classified information. The level to which the mishandling must rise is gross negligence. Just not being adequately careful with classified information is a crime. Okay, what Hillary did, even without the proof of intent, from a legal perspective, it's like you didn't feed your kids. It's like, it's like you're Karl Marx, right? It's the same thing as if you're Karl Marx. You laid around, you didn't make any money, your kids starved to death, and you were drunk all the time. Well, Hillary's drunk all the time, apparently, and she decided to just not carefully enough handle the information. Now, we know that that the decision that she made was to explicitly, carefully, and intentionally mishandle the information in a clearly criminal way. She absolutely had the intent. But if all she had done is lay around drunk and let the kids starve to death, that's still a crime. Gross negligence is the level to which the crime must rise in order for it to be a crime, punishable under penalty of perjury. Well, the original Comey exoneration letter used the language gross negligence, and they changed that to extreme carelessness, which of course is the legal definition of gross negligence. And then the other major, there were several changes made that are pretty key and important. And guys, I've only read the thing once. Okay, I am not perfect on this yet. I still have a lot of my own questions that need to be answered. It's 580 pages. It came out Thursday. I was on set for 10 hours Thursday in Georgia in June in denim and a Carhartt jacket with my freaking hair down. I didn't read it. I didn't read it until Friday night. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you can look for my beautiful beard in Season 2 of The Gifted. If you're into mutants and stuff. Anyway. So I've still got questions that I need answered out of this thing. Another major change that was made is the original document mentioned the probable breach by hostile actors. We now know that the Hillary Clinton email server was absolutely 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt breached by hostile actors. Essentially, we know that the Russians have all 60,000 emails. They have all the information about Hillary's yoga pants and wedding plans and where our spies are located that was contained in those emails. Now remember, Trump got a lot of flack for making a joke about trying to get the emails back from Putin since he probably had them. Guys, no shit. It would not be a bad thing for Donald Trump to enter diplomatic negotiations with Putin for those emails. Because right now, if the Russians or any other hostile actor have those emails, and we don't, that means that we don't know what they know. This is extraordinarily dangerous. We don't know what they know. That's never good. I'll put it in perspective for you. You're a professional sniper. You're set up in a window on a tower. And there is another sniper on the other side of the city. And you're not sure if he's spotted you yet. You can pull that trigger and kill him. And it doesn't matter anymore if he's spotted you yet. But now, you don't know if his battle buddy just heard your gunshot and now knows where you are. You're in that moment, the enemy might have information which is dangerous, and you don't know what that information is or if they have it. And you have to make your decisions. This is what game theory is all about. You have to make your decisions based on your expectation of the probable reaction that the opponent will have to the decisions you make. That is what game theory is all about. And if you're not smart on game theory yet, at least read the Wikipedia page. And then the last thing that I want to touch, the one thing that the IG report really got right. I don't mean to down talk the IG report too much or to downplay Horowitz's work. They actually did good work. There's a little bit of kind of mystique about the report, kind of letting it's not aggressive enough about dealing with the bad things that were done in this. Okay? But one thing that I do find interesting is that according to Horowitz's report, Comey's decision to deliver the exoneration speech the way he did was absolutely not a justifiable action. There is no justification for the investigator to do the prosecutor's job. There is a reason that the investigator and the prosecutor are not the same person. Those two jobs are explicitly discrete from one another, and for good reason. The investigator presents the information to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor makes the decision on whether or not to pursue prosecution. Now, if you guys have any questions about the stuff that I've covered so far tonight, please leave them in the comments below. Share this video. Share, share, share. I will be talking about this more and more over the coming weeks as more information comes out, and as I get deeper and deeper into reading this document, which is thick. I mean, these are big, thick thumbs. This thing is thick. So, any questions, leave them below. I'll try to get to them as quick as I can. If I don't have an answer for you immediately, trust that it is because I'm looking shit up and I'm comparing some stuff to some historical events. That being the rest of it, they find they should have not. I'm sorry, I'm reading a comment. Oh, yeah. Rod, that's... I'm afraid I don't follow you. I'm afraid you lost me in context there, Rod. Which is a pity because I'm about to shut this thing down. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a privilege. I have thoroughly enjoyed your company. I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say. Hopefully you've learned something from it. If you haven't read the IG report, I don't blame you. I get it. I would highly recommend that you read these things like this as soon as they come out, whenever the opportunity, whenever you can. I know it's hard. You can't read everything. You can't read everything that comes out of the government, let alone... It's too much. It's just too damn much. But hey, take solace in knowing this. That blue wave is apparently pointed right back in the other direction. I did not get to the immigrant children tonight. Maybe I can do a little something about that in the next couple of days or next weekend. And we will see about that. But until next week, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave comments below. Tell me I'm wrong. Right? Even if you don't think I'm wrong, make up some shit. Make up some shit. Throw down a premise that I can refute. I love to do that. I love to deal with debate. Or find a friend who thinks I'm wrong. Go find one of your liberal buddies that thinks I'm just an asshole. And I dare you. I'll bring them on the show and have a conversation with them. You find me somebody that's willing to sit down in front of a camera, I'll go to them. And we'll record, and I'll show an unedited interview, and we'll do it. Oh, see, my wife says I'm wrong. I know she's kidding. Because she knows better. So until next week, guys, I love you. I appreciate you coming to watch tonight, and I will see you next Sunday. And until then, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Good night.